Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are going to go through chapter 11 of the Tao Te Ching called The Power of the Insubstantial. Now, this is, I feel like I say this every time, but this is one of my favorite verses. I think it is very powerful. It can speak to a lot of us about the way we navigate life. It can give us a little bit of a different perspective and help us understand things in a deeper way, the insubstantial, the things that you don't think about that are actually vastly, vastly more important than we give them credit for. So first, the picture of the Buddhist wheel. I think that's beautiful. The verse, quite small. I'm going to read it right now. The power of the insubstantial. 30 spokes meet in the hub of a wheel, but it is the empty space at the center that makes it useful for a cart. Clay is used to make a pot, but it is the empty space within that makes it useful as a container. Windows and doors pierce the walls of a room, but it is the space within that makes it useful as a dwelling. Thus, things with substance are practical, but it is the insubstantial that is productive. Sorry, Lily's pushing the tripod. So, the insubstantial. I've alluded to this a few times, but Taoism is sort of, it's trying to get you to see things that you wouldn't naturally see at a first glance. So I really like this. Other translations talk about when it talks about the room, the windows and doors that pierce the walls of a room, it talks about a house. And I really like that imagery because we in the West see a house and we're like, okay, yeah, that's a house. That's where somebody lives. It's a nice house. It's a bad house. It's a rundown house. It's a new house. It's a red house, whatever. And Taoism tries to get you to see, no, it's not about the house. It's about the space within that we occupy. What is more important? Is it the walls and the windows and the roof? Or is it the space that we're occupying? Is it the spaces where we laugh and we eat and we sleep and we exist? And in the same way as a cup, is it the actual cup or is it the space inside of it? And I guess what Taoism is trying to say is not one or the other is more important. They're both important, but it's trying to get you to understand that space within something, that insubstantial, the thing you can't really quantify, is just as important as the physical, as the practical. And this has a lot of applications for how you live your life and the way you want to interact with it, because we tend to take a very materialistic, practical, physical, structural view of the world. We tend to look at how much grain is produced on a specific acre of farmland, or how productive an oil field is, or a mine, or any of the things that produce the things that we need. When in reality, there's this other element to everything. There's this insubstantial element that exists. And I guess you can apply that to humans in that we have a very practical body. Biologically, it exists. It does specific things. My eyes help me see the world. My nose helps me smell what's going on. My ears help me understand movement and sound and all kinds of things. And so very practical things that help me interact with the world. But there is this insubstantial thing that makes up my consciousness, that makes up who I am. You can take the view that the brain is the be-all and end-all of consciousness. You can take that view and just say, no, it's all electrical synapses and, a complex neural network of trillions of neurons firing all in conjunction with one another in order to create this complex understanding of reality. But there is also this element of the unseen. There's a reason so many religions and cultures come up with the idea of the soul, the idea that no, there's something inherently unique about consciousness and who we are. And when we die, what happens? where is this? It's almost like this insubstantial part of us disappears, and you have the body, and then it's like, well, where does that other part gone? Has it just been that the neurons have stopped firing and that's it, lights out? If you want to take that view, you're very welcome to. I personally don't hold that view. I think that there is something insubstantial, there is something unquantifiable about existence, and almost everything in this world has an element of insubstantial. If you look at anything physically, anything in this world that you can interact with, there is going to be an element of it that you can't really quantify, that you can't really put into words, you can't really comprehend in a physical sense. And I think that's why this particular chapter is so interesting. The idea of the cup or the room, and both of these spaces, these objects, hold space and potential within them. In physics, you talk about potential energy and the way that if I place a ball at the top of a ramp, you're giving it potential energy. And at some point, that energy can be used, or that energy can be activated in some way. I'm kind of butchering that, so sorry if you're a physics person, but that's essentially the idea, is that there is potential in everything. Everything has this potential, insubstantial property to it, I guess. And I've just always really enjoyed this chapter. It's worth looking at other translations as well of chapter 11, because some of them are done in really beautiful ways and kind of intricate and interesting ways, the way they talk about the hub of the wheel and the spokes and that kind of idea, which also obviously the Buddhists have incorporated as well. I don't know who came first, but those kinds of ideas of thus things with substance are practical, but it is the insubstantial that is productive. And I think you could replace productive there with any kind of idea of aspect of use of material value. You could just say that the insubstantial has value. And I guess that's the essence of this. Like we've seen several times in Taoism, Taoism is not trying to tell you that one thing is better than the other. It is just trying to open your eyes to specific concepts and saying, hey, there's this other aspect you might not have thought of. And it's not more important than what you've always known, but it's worth understanding. It's equal. It goes back to the yin and yang sign. One of them isn't better than the other. They both have elements of each other within them, and they both have elements that are valuable and that create a whole. So that's the power of insubstantial. I think it's a really cool, interesting chapter. Definitely worth looking into. Read some translations of it, because it's really neat, this potential of, you are not just the sum of your parts. There are other aspects to you that make you unique, that make you interesting, that make you powerful, that make you anything. You can insert anything in there. But this insubstantial element to things kind of makes you appreciate life a little bit more. And it makes you see that, the tree in the forest, yeah, it has a form, a structure, its roots provide all kinds of movement. Lily, careful. Its roots provide all kinds of movement and structure. Its branches provide homes and places where the animals can exist. And so there's so much more to everything in this world than just meets the eye. And I think that's what makes this concept really neat. So thank you for listening. Maybe in the comments today, put something that you've never thought of that's insubstantial, like the space in your car. You might use your car every single day to get from A to B, but it's the space within that you exist in while you're traveling. That's an important part of the car itself, the space that you occupy in order to get to A to B. And that's a good metaphor for life as well. So let me know what you guys think of the insubstantial parts of things that are actually pretty important. So thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this chapter. It's a good one. And as always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.